Hello, everyone. It is Thursday. We are here. Whew. We almost did not make it. It is raining really bad in Houston, Texas. So the internets did not want me to be great, but we are here and we are talking about a really interesting topic. Okay, so I get excited talking about generations and leadership and their characteristics. So I'm super excited that we are talking about the X factor today. We are talking about Generation X and how their leadership will impact the workplace culture. All right. So, again, my name is Miracle Simeon. I am the COO of Veaux Professional Services. We like to call ourselves modern HR. Why is that? Because we lead with culture. Culture is king. Everything starts with culture for us, and then we will go into strategies and, recruiting and handbook and all of that good stuff. But if we don't have a good culture, we don't have anything. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. Like I said, I am so excited to be talking about this topic today. I'm gonna there we go, remove my slide. So, yes, when we talk about generational shifts, it's so easy to overlook the quiet powerhouse, the ones that don't demand attention, but they shape. They are shaping a lot of stuff that's going on right now, and that is Gen X. So these are the individuals that were born between 1965 and 1981. And so this generation, lovingly or maybe mockingly, are referred to as the middle child generation. But I refer to them as, I think they self proclaim themselves the latchkey kids. They are overshadowed by the voices of the baby boomers that, of course, came before them, and then the tech savvy millennials like myself that followed after them. But the Gen Xers have been the backbone of what's going on, and I have stats to prove it. In 2019 to today, the generational X hold over 50% of leadership roles globally. So the baby boomers are leaving, and Generation X are coming, not coming, but they're already here, but they are taking those leadership roles. So it's this shift or changing of the baton. And so we see a lot of baby boomers who have hold the leadership positions, they're stepping down, and who's replacing them? It's those Gen X people. And what's interesting about this generation, because there was no big announcement or party or fireworks or even headlines announcing this shift. It just happened, and they just started like evading the boardroom and just taking care of business. Gen X leaders don't need the spotlight. They just provide impact, they provide value, and then they sit back and watch. So it's let's just understand where this Gen X distinction come from when it comes to the leadership. Like I'm always curious when we talk about generations, like where does it come from? So we have to understand that this generation, they witnessed the birth of technology. And so they already transitioned from 8 tracks to streaming, and they went from beepers to smartphones. This generation, they are resilient in adapting the digital era versus millennials. Of course, we grew up in the narrative of technology. I'm not gonna talk about it's hard for me to not talk about millennials because I am one, but we're talking about Gen X. So they saw the changing of multiple things throughout, their lifetime. So they are accustomed to being adaptive for different things. And what makes Generation X so unique is they have this connection to logic and logical thinking with the presence of digital to enhance their leadership styles. And so their characteristics, the Gen X leadership characteristics, is that they bring a fresh approach to these boardrooms and C suites and leaders. So we had the baby boomers who had this top down approach. It was like, do what I say. And, you are a worker, you're here to execute something. But then you have the Gen Xers who have, they foster and they actually promote collaborative environment. They care about feedback loop and they want to get the job done. So work life balance to Gen X isn't like a tricky perk where my generation comes in. Like they work hard and they do want to have that work life balance, but they want to get the job done, which is kind of different from my generation. But they realize the value of technology to streamline processes and drive efficiency. And so, we had this shift in 2018 where you really see the Gen X generation becoming leaders. And then fast forward into 2020, there's this global shift. We have the pandemic, and all of these changes are coming forth. And we have to transition to remote working. And like now we're like hybrid, but we want to go back. All of these different changes. But it doesn't matter because the people in leadership right now are the Gen Xers, and they are so used to like maneuvering the things and being resilient. So they're like, okay, we doing remote now. This is what we do. Okay, we want to bring people back. This is what we do. So they have that adaptability in their generation because they're used to seeing things change and evolve, and like this is the new way we are doing things. And they got tough, tough, thick skin. The Generation X, I mean, they call them the latchkey kids for a reason because there was no cell phones and mom and dad was at work. Baby boomers are, the leaders. So when you get home, you let yourself in, you cook your dinner. They took care of themselves. So they have that tact, and they work hard. They are a good generation that just works hard. So when it comes to leveraging their workplace culture, like I said earlier, they don't believe in the tactics when it comes to work-life balance. It's a philosophy for them. So that, drink Fridays and team building games, like, yes, for they see it as a tactic, not just a way of living. So they're all about creating an environment where employees feel valued. Their mental health is a priority, but that was something that was coming up more so in my generation, millennial generation, but they do acknowledge it because that's where the adaptability comes from. They may think like, oh, okay, whatever, but they're still going to adapt to what their team is doing. So they're not like the baby boomers who may cast down a new idea. They are very much open to the new idea, but they do have that like suck it up attitude, which I love. But again, if it's going to help the growth of the organization, they are all for it because they want to create that environment, that inclusive environment for them. And so they really want profits to soar, and they care about the engagement of the team. And so they are really into, we need to be in person, we need to be together, we need to, collaboration is the key. So, in wrapping up, it's clear that Generation X leadership is more than just their age bracket. And that's why I wanted to really talk about like what they are doing and how they grew up, because it is transforming organizations and really culture about how their philosophy is. And when it comes to the culture of it, and I like to tell people all the time, when it comes to the different generations, at our core, we all want the same thing. We may execute it in a different way, but baby boomers, Gen X, Gen Z, millennials, we all want to feel valued at our place to work. We all want to, make sure we're doing something like putting our work is connected to the whole of the company. We matter. Like we all want the same things. So just by learning from Generation X, it's clear that culture is the heart of any company. And I like to say that culture will eat strategy for breakfast anytime. If you do not have a culture, any type of strategy you put in place will not survive. So let's just dig deeper, prioritize our people, watch how culture will give you the competitive edge. And that's what our generations is doing now. And all companies need to be on board with that mentality. So, as that is being said, I have the greatest transition. We have our culture pop up workshop. Yes. So we can do this one of two ways. We have a culture pop up workshop that's geared towards your employees, and we really talk about, how can we brainstorm these behaviors that we want to see or not see in the organization. And it's a really good tool to have it for your employees because they get to come up with it. We explain that leadership, of course, has the final say so, but getting them involved in the front half has their benefits. And then we also have the other side of just tailoring the culture pop up for our leaderships and having those conversations and really driving the culture. And what do we want to see? What do we want to promote? What do we want to reward to really get the employees on board? Because if you are not actively every day you come to work promoting the culture that you want, it's happening, but it's happening through the employee that has the loudest personality, the employee that has the most weight, the most senior person. So just imagine who is controlling your culture and your narrative when you're bringing it on new people. Who are they being trained with, and what is that person setting that culture? So you need to set the culture as leaders, not the employee with the biggest personality. So again, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next Thursday.